Okay, now I think this is where you are right now. So we're going to take it from here. The first thing we should have is we should have completed the basic block, and hopefully your block looks like it's this shape right here, and you group that so it's one object. Then we had you make the cylinder. Now when we drag the cylinder out, we're going to use one of these, that, like this up here says hole. Once again, if we were to click on the solid, it would change it. We want to leave it as the whole version because that's what it's going to help us get. So now we look at the dimensions for the cylinder, and the dimensions were a ½ inch. Remember, the decimal for the ½ inch is 0.5, so you'd have to type in 0.5 for this dimension. And we're going to go down here. Once again, when you see I put my arrow over it, it turns this arrow red in there, showing that's the dimension we're going to work with. We're going to type 0.5 in there, so that makes our circle a ½ inch. The height is going to be 2 inches. Once again, you can see this arrow here, and it lights up the height. And these arrows are all in the light blue, which you can see areas. We're going to change that to 2. Now, we now need to take and move this into the block. And I think this is what you're having problems with. If yours is off center, you're putting the numbers from the video incorrectly. What we need to do before we move this in is go down to this red circle right here. Now, when I highlight this, I move my arrow on top of it. Do you see how it says use midpoint and it lights up red? What that's telling us is this right here, and I want you to look at this. This green arrow right here is now lined up with the end. If we click on this use midpoint, it's going to line up with the middle of this, and this is going to help us to center it. And this is something we need to do to get that circle so it's in the center. And if we forget this step, when we type the numbers in from the video, it's going to show up somewhere like my arrow's pointing. It's not going to be centered up. It's going to look out of place. So once again, if you watch this, this green arrow says 5 1/8, and this line right here lines up with the edge of the circle. Now I'm going to go here again, see where my arrow is, says use midpoint, click on that, and now when we look at it, it went from 5 1/8 to 5 3/8. And you can see now this line doesn't line up here anymore. It lines up with the middle. So now when we change these numbers here and here, we're going to change the x-axis here. We're going to change the y-axis here. And that's what we're going to do to center this up. Now remember, I move this screen by right-clicking, holding, and then I can move this back and forth. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to this number, and this number controls our x-axis on our ruler. Make sure your ruler's still on and hasn't changed, because if it does, we're going to have to move some things around again. But if you still have your ruler on, this number probably won't be the same as mine, but it will change this dimension. We're going to click on this number. You can see how once again it lights up red, and this arrow right here for the x-axis lights up red. We're going to change that to 1.5. When we do that, you can see it moves it into the block here. The next number we're going to worry about is the y-axis, which is right here. My y-axis is now says 1 1/4, but we need to make that 1 1/8. The number we're going to type in here for the y-axis, if you see when I put it, my arrow on this, it turns this red. I'm then going to click on that, and I'm going to change the number to 1.125. Enter. And it just moved it over a little bit, but now you can see it's centered. So we used this tool to help us get the center of this. Now once that's done, we're going to go move our arrow back up here. We're going to left click and hold. We're going to drag this down as we're holding the left mouse button, and you get your red broken line to come out. Let go. It's going to select both parts. And then we go up to this tool right here that says group. All right. We see that group tool. We're going to click on that, and then it becomes one item, the holes in the center. I hope this video helps. If it doesn't, just let me know and we'll figure another way to work with and understand what we're talking about. Thanks.